Well, hello there. How is everybody doing today? No complaints here. Today is a fabulous day for field herping. Just saying. So today I'm gonna get involved with an event called Get Intimate with the Shrub Steppe, which is environmental stuff hosted by the Kittitas Environmental Education Network, and it's a lot of fun. There's going to be herping, birding, geology stuff, and yeah, it's exciting. Now let's get down to business, shall we? Yeah, right now. Well, I am here. This is a gopher snake, most likely wild caught here in the state. And he's super chill.
He's actually got a pretty good head.
Here's a northern Pacific rattlesnake. Rubber boa. So yeah.
We have to sit. So come on, come in close and sit down, and I'm going to tell you a really cool story. You kids, all of us kids, of all ages.
Yeah, I will.
So this story is
And I have sunscreen if any kids or anybody wants it.
I have a. So, so this is a Yakima Nation story. Does anyone know who the Yakima Nation is? The Yakima Nation? Mateo, who's the do you know the Yakima people?
I drew a picture with paper.
Yeah. So the Yakima people were the Native Americans that lived here for hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of years before the white people showed up. And they still live here today, right? The Yakima Nation, you've heard of them, the Yakima tribe. So they have this amazing story. This will take about 10 minutes to tell. And what's his name?
His name is Davian.
Damien.
Davian. With a D.
Davian.
Davian. Davian.
Do you want to hear a story? Do you like stories? So I'm going to tell a story. Anyhow, this is a story called Salmon and Old Man Rattlesnake. And it's a great story because the rattlesnake is the hero and not the villain. And it goes like this. In the long ago and the far, far away time, the people were hungry. And they cried out to the Great Spirit, bring us the food that we need to become a strong and a great nation. And so the next day, as the people were walking along the river, and it was a river like this, like the Yakima River, as the people were walking along the river, they looked downstream, and they saw thousands and thousands of people swimming in the water. But when they blinked their eyes and looked again, they saw coho, chinook, silver, and sockeye. It was the salmon nation swimming up the stream to where those people lived. And in time, the people learned to make spears, and they took some of those fish, and they split them and dried them on the racks and roasted them on the coals. And from the flesh of the salmon, the people became a strong and a great nation. And they were always careful, whenever they ate a fish, they were always careful to take its bones and put them back into the water so the spirit of the salmon could go home. And they were always careful, very careful, to thank the Great Spirit for the gift of the salmon. And so the salmon nation came back year after year. The people were proud and strong, and it was a wonderful time until they forgot. They threw the bones of the salmon this way and that after they ate them, and they no longer thanked the Great Spirit for the gift of the salmon, and so the salmon nation stopped returning to the people, who then grew weak and hungry, and the elders who were once so proud and strong had to go around begging just for a little food, and the children went to bed hungry. It was very sad. Well, about that time, an old woman was walking along the bank of the river. And she saw lying in the dust an old, dry, dead salmon. And she knelt down next to that fish and she said, if only we could bring you back to life, you could tell your people that we have changed our ways. So she told her ideas to the elders that night, and they said, well, fine, but who's going to bring an old dead salmon back to life? I know of a person who could do such a thing, someone cried out. But he lives far and away, and he's not easily found. Well, the next morning, a group decided to go out and look for him. And so they left the canyon and the river, like where we are sitting, and up into the hills they walked, way up into the desert, and they looked and they looked, and they found deep in a cleft in the rocks, they found him. It was Old Man Rattlesnake. And they walked up to Old Man Rattlesnake and they told him about that dead fish on the river. And they told Rattlesnake that he was the only one who could help them. And he said, well, what makes you think that my power is great enough to bring a dead salmon? And they said, please, Rattlesnake, you're our only hope. So Old Man Rattlesnake, he slowly and painfully, because he's really old, he crawled up out of his den in the rocks and down to the desert, down to the stream. And over that fish he crawled once, twice, a third time, and it just lied dead on the bank. But then a fourth, and then a fifth time, then Old Man Rattlesnake disappeared. But the salmon, its tail moved up and down, and one of its gills opened and closed, and it started to change from a dull gray to a bright silver, and it flopped around on the bank. And they picked up the fish, they couldn't believe it, and they put it in the stream. Downstream it swam, and a time came when the salmon nation returned. And they were always careful after that to thank the Great Spirit for the gift of the salmon, and always careful to put the bones back into the river. And even today, when you eat a salmon, has anyone eaten a salmon? Yeah, when you eat a salmon, you can take its back and you can crack it open. And if you're careful, you'll see a long, sinuous thread of tissue inside of that fish, and that's all that's left of Old Man Rattlesnake. And that's the story. And it's just a cool story because it tells us about the connections between snakes and salmon and so many things we don't think about. So I wanted to just, it's getting warm. She'll be there, we can go see her. I've spent quite a few years here in Washington studying snakes, and some of the dens I've looked at are right here along this canyon here in Herping Canyon. This place is known for rattlesnakes. And they will overwinter on the rocks up in the hills to escape their cold winter temperatures. And then in the spring they leave their dens. By late April to early May, they're moving down off of the mountain. This time of year they're moving out into the valleys and going to their summer foraging territory. So it's a great time to see rattlesnakes this time of year. And they are, this place is known as a snaky place. And often people won't come here because they're afraid of snakes, because they think they're dangerous. Yet they're happy to drive their car down from Ellensburg or from Yakima or whatever along a 2-lane highway that's far more dangerous than rattlesnakes are. If you look at statistics, it's extremely rare. You have a greater chance of being struck by lightning than you do by getting bitten and venomated by a rattlesnake. And even if you are, the chance that you're going to die is practically zero. There hasn't been a death from a rattlesnake bite in many, many years in Washington State. And the treatment for rattlesnakes, go to the hospital and you'll be fine. Not to say that if you get bitten, you shouldn't go to the hospital. But the fear people have of snakes is way overinflated. And part of that is just because we don't know. We're not used to them. We're afraid of the things we don't understand. But once we understand things,
well,
that
part
fear
of it
goes
is us as parents, instill that fear into them when they're little, so they don't want it.
Yeah, right.
So
well,
then when do you get rid of your fear?
When my kids were little, we lived in Arizona, and I studied snakes, and there were several species of venomous snakes, and I just taught them. I didn't let them play where, unattended, just like you wouldn't let your kid play in the street. And they learned.
Yeah.
And we can teach our kids if we understand.
Right, but that's
Yeah,
where most
exactly.
of fear comes from.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Instilled
Right.
from when they're little. I mean, we used to play tag with garter snakes when I was little.
That's pretty awesome. Speaking of garter snakes, I have one in this bag, and you saw it, but not everybody else did, right? So I what I'd like to do is take the snake up to where we caught it, and then we can talk about it and let it go up there. And then if we keep hiking and we're lucky, that rattlesnake might still be there that we saw earlier, and we'll go look for that rattlesnake. And along the way, look for anything else in the trail. You kids with those good eyes, you know, you might see something. If you see something, say something, let us know. And we're going to look along the creek for garter snakes. And Jack's going to tell us about lichens along the way. And yeah, if there's no more questions or comments or anything, we can hit the trail.
Thank you for that story.
Yeah, you bet. I love that story.
It's a great
My pleasure. We have a poop chute called the cloaca right there. Right, where is it? There is it, right there. See that? That's its poop chute. Don't look too close because if it poops, it might get you in the eye. So this is a garter snake, G-A-R-T-E-R, garter, not gardener. They don't garden. This is a garter snake. They're all over in this canyon. We already saw one, right? And it's called a wandering garter snake. There's a couple different species that live here. This is a wandering garter snake. Look how pretty its tongue is. Yeah, don't stick your hand in its face. It doesn't like that.
It's a beautiful one.
How big they grow?
This is a good sized adult. They get a biggest one might be twice the size, but this is a pretty decent sized snake.
I just saw that one.
So
How is that a female or a male? And how can you tell?
that's a great question. The way you tell is the length of the tail. It looks kind of like a male to me. Males have proportionately longer tails. To know for sure.
And you do the tail from where their poop hole is?
Yeah.
Backwards?
Yeah. Poop hole backwards. To know for sure though, for a garter snake you'd need to probe. And you can take a little probe, and if it's a male, the probe will go inside of the hemipenis. They have a penis on each side of the cloaca. It's paired. So they actually have two penises. So snakes are special that way. And I'll show you if we get that rattlesnake. It's a little easier to tell in rattlesnakes. Males from females. The females have shorter tails. So who wants to touch the snake before I let it go? You already touched it. You've been here right touching it the whole time, so you're good. So one thing that's really fun to do is to watch a snake crawl away. So I'm going to set it down right about here where we found it. It was in the shadow of this sagebrush. And so I'm going to encourage everyone to watch it crawl and see how it crawls away. Are you guys ready? Everybody ready?
Last time it was funny how you caught it.
Okay, I'm going to let him crawl. There he goes. He's going to go fast. And do you notice as it disappears, it's hard to tell where the snake ends? That stripe down its back makes it hard to see where it begins and where it ends. And that actually helps protect it from getting nailed by predators. So that's one of my favorite things to do is to let snakes go.
It was funny when you caught it because you jumped.
Yeah, I had to jump fast to catch it.
Hope you don't mind being featured on my channel.
Oh, not at all. Is that a YouTube channel?
Yep. Munson Burner.
I hope nobody's so
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Munson Burner?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, okay, let's go. Let's see if we can get away from it. They're not aggressive. They try to avoid people. And you can see it. See it in the shot. Does everyone get to see the snake? Right at the end of my shadow of the tunnel. Right under that plant. And that's exactly where it was an hour and a half ago. We took it out and we tubed it, we touched it, and we'll do that now. And we put it back and it went right back there. And so it's pretty calm, pretty mellow. Say that again?
Does it feel safe right there? Is that why it's kind of sitting there?
Yeah, it feels safe there. It's part of its place, and it's probably hoping it's not being seen by us, even though we already picked it up once. But it's a pretty mellow snake. So we'll wait for the train to go by, and then. Very much so. Their color varies a fair amount, and I just had an awesome grad student who finished his thesis looking at color variation. Northern Pacific rattlesnakes. So you met him at that conference, right? And he found that they don't really have polymorphisms like certain phases, although they vary in color a lot. But they vary a lot in color within populations too. So like here in a canyon, there can be greenish ones, yellowish ones, creamy colored. There's a lot of color variation.
I would never know there was a rattlesnake.
I know. So rattlesnakes are they want to avoid people, and when you're out hiking and you run into a rattlesnake like this, what should you do? You guys, kids, what should you do? Should you pick a rock up and throw it at it? No. And you should never pick it up and mess with it. I'm going to pick up the snake in a minute, and just be careful with that rock. Don't make sure it doesn't go in this direction. I'm going to pick the snake up so everyone can see it, but that's my job. Some of us get lucky enough to be herpetologists, and if you starve long enough, eventually maybe you can make a living working on studying snakes. So I'm going to pick it up so everyone gets a chance to see it, but I wouldn't. This is not something normally we would want to do. Does everyone see it? We could sit and watch it, and it would sit there for a long, long time. Probably as the day moves on, if you put your hand on the ground, you feel these rocks are starting to get kind of warm, right? So the rattlesnake's going to warm up as its environment warms up. Once its body temperature gets up to about 30 degrees centigrade, which is in the mid-80s for us, mid-80s Fahrenheit, it's going to get up and move. It's going to get too hot, and it's going to find a place in the shade. It might move into the plants under here. This is a gravid female. It means she's pregnant. She's going to have babies. She most likely overwintered in dens on this hillside where we've marked many animals on this hill. There's rattlesnake dens there. She most likely overwintered there. She's coming down from her overwintering. Probably took a drink in the stream, crawled across the stream, and she's hanging here. And because she's going to have babies, they don't move much when they're gravid, when they're pregnant. She'll probably spend the summer right in here along the creek. It's a great place. When they're pregnant, they don't eat. So she probably won't eat any food this whole summer. Not all snakes have live babies. Garter snakes do, and rattlesnakes do. And the babies will be born, they won't lay eggs, they'll be born in late July to late August. So she'll have babies in August, probably.
So they go into the water?
They're good swimmers.
Oh, okay.
They don't, they'll go down to the water to drink, and they sometimes will spend time around water foraging, waiting for mammals. Mostly adult rattlesnakes forage on land. They don't forage in the water like a garter snake. And they eat ground squirrels and mice, mammals mostly. Younger rattlesnakes will eat lizards, but adults are mostly mammals. Yeah, you can tell by the just the way it feels. It runs the whole length of the body. It's not like one big bolus around the stomach or a large bolus in the intestines. It's the whole length of the body. And I'll show you when we pick her up. I'm gonna use my tubes to tube her, and then you guys will get to see and feel what a live rattlesnake is like. So this is how we handle snakes when we do studies at the dens, at the rattlesnake dens, and we mark and we capture the snakes so we can understand their population characteristics. We also measure their rattles to understand their growth rates. So sometimes we have to handle them, and when we do, we use these, they're called restraining tubes, and they make it a lot safer. So I'm going to ask, maybe I might bring her out here in the shade, so I'm just going to work over here, so just stay where you are for the most part, and we'll be fine. Say again? I'm going to work over here, so just stay where you are, and we'll be good. So I'm going to pick her up now.
Oh my God, that's cute.
Isn't that beautiful? She's a big female. I'm going to head right over by you, in the shade. And I'm going to tube her over here. Stay where you are, or you can come over. Parents can, but kids, please stay. I'm going to get her to go in this tube. So our pregnant, that's more than... This is the hardest part. I'll tell you in a minute. Let me get her in the tube first.
Doesn't it shed its rattle too? Doesn't it shed its rattle too?
Shade. Okay, every time they shed, they grow a new segment on the rattle. Let's take her in the shade, and everyone can touch her if you want to. And now I can answer questions.
It's not very warm.
She's not that warm, so that's good. She didn't get too hot. You can hold her, support her tail, because I've got a bug on my neck. I need to scratch my neck. Can you support her body for me? Put your hand underneath her and hold her body. Good job. Get that bug off of my neck. Thank you. I don't want to let go with this hand.
No.
Good job. You guys are doing great. You're holding the rattlesnake. Can you feel her skin? Some yellow and some tan and even some turquoise in the side of her body there. So pretty. And then, can you kind of feel how pudgy she is? She's a little chubby from here all the way down. And moms, you got to touch the rattlesnake.
That's the pregnancy.
Somebody asked how we knew she was gravid, right? Yep. You got to come and let me answer your question. So you have to look at her and feel all the way down. You can feel she's kind of chubby from there all the way to her tail.
And she's flat. And she's very fat.
And she's kind of fat.
Yep.
And then if we look underneath, you can see the ventral scutes. These are the scales that give them a grip when they're crawling on the ground. So ventral and dorsal scales. And that beautiful colors and patterns are made to blend in really well with the environment.
Is she mad?
She is not. Does she look mad?
Her battle's not going very good either.
She's not
mad.
rattled.
She's not coiled.
She's pretty mellow.
How fast is their heart? Can you tell if they're stressed by the heart rate or is it?
Their heart rate does not increase when they're stressed, like ours.
Really?
Yeah, when they're you can tell they'll retreat, they'll tighten up, should start jerking and trying to get out of the tube. And of course they'll rattle. Rattlesnakes will rattle when they're trying to warn you. But you can also notice her rattle, that each of the little segments of the rattle sort of loosely interconnect with each other, and that's what makes the sound. They kind of jiggle against each other to make that rattling sound. And
So, do they shed once a year?
our snakes do. Many rattlesnakes in other parts of the country will shed a few times a year, but our northern Pacific, so this is a northern Pacific rattlesnake, they shed once a year as adults. When they're younger, they might shed 2 or 3 times their first year.
Okay.
But once they are adult sized, by their 3rd year, they shed once a year.
Okay.
And so this I can tell is a female because here's her poop chute. Well, I know the rattle is strongly correlated to the length of the snake. So bigger snakes have wider rattle segments right at the base, this black one. And each time they shed, they grow a new rattle segment, which is every year. And so you can tell by the width of the rattle segments if they've been growing or not. And for females, when they have babies, they don't grow. They shunt the energy toward offspring. And so you can see this black segment? That's pretty big. The next one down is smaller. These two are smaller. These 2 rattle segments. The last 2 years she hasn't had babies.
Can you tell the age from the tail?
You can sort of tell.
Count the rattle, right?
And I'll answer your question in a sec. But what I can tell from this is that she hasn't had babies in about 2 or 3 years. So this is the first time in a while, and they don't have offspring every year. You can't age them by the rattles because they break.
Is that because they're young, stay with them for 2 years before they go out into their own
No,
nest,
it's because it takes a lot of energy. They have to store up a lot of energy to have babies. And she might have up to 30 they don't lay eggs, they have live young.
And babies
but they're like eggs.
Yes. Babies are more venomous because they don't have a venom shedder offer. They haven't trained their muscles yet. Is that kind of the myth?
That's kind of the myth.
Okay.
But the young rattlesnakes have neurotoxins in the venom that are more toxic, but they're not more toxic to humans.
Okay.
But they work really well on lizards. They work better on ectotherms. And as they mature, the venom components becomes more
Is that
dominated.
because they are less needing the venom to paralyze our lizards so they can kill it with their strength of wrapping?
It's because the neurotoxins kill lizards better,
Okay.
faster.
What's that boy doing
And as they
right
grow
there?
to be older, they have
He's climbing.
they have other
I
toxins that
find
kill that they use for mammals.
No. Okay.
Can I find two?
What did you get?
Yep, on my YouTube channel. Sweet. So, huge shout out to this guy. What's your YouTube channel?
Technoendo.
Yeah, check this guy out. You'll love him.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Anytime, bro. Well, I just got home not long ago. And now it's time to take my snakes out for some sunshine. I don't know about you, but I had a great time. And that's a fact. There was some snake and reptile education by my good herpetologist friend Dan Beck. He's a local herpetologist here at the college here. He's very knowledgeable, of course. So yeah. Now I should go. Bye bye.